All right, how's it going, everybody? This is your brief explainer video about everything dealing with the Congress. Now, we learned that our Congress is bicameral, which means, as you know, that there are two groups, two parts to our legislative branch. We've got the House of Representatives and the Senate. In the House of Representatives, there's a total number of 435 members, with each state getting a different number based upon the population of the state. The more people a state has, the more votes that they'll get in the House. The fewer people a state has, the fewer people a state gets to vote in the House. Every state has a minimum of one. The largest state, the state with the largest delegation, is California. And so every other state ranges between, California and the other state, which has one, for instance, like North Dakota. So in the House is 435. You need just a simple majority in order to make a law. That simple majority would be 218 votes. The leader of the House is the person by the name of the Speaker of the House. That person is chosen by the political party with the most seats. So as of today, which is February 3rd, 2020, the Speaker of the House is Nancy Pelosi, and she's a Democrat. That tells you that the Democrats currently control the House. The Speaker of the House has a lot of responsibilities, setting the agenda and what have you. Mainly, in this case, her responsibility is to be the third person in line to be president, in the line of succession. And then in the House, you need to be at least 25 years old, and the term of a member of the House is for 2 years before they get elections, and there is no term limit. You can be in the House of Representatives for as long as you like, Moving on over to the Senate, there's a total number of 100 senators, with each state getting 2. No matter the population of the state, every state gets 2 senators. The leader of the Senate is the vice president. That job is mainly ceremonial. Indeed, it really only has one responsibility, which is to vote in the case of a tie. Most of the day-to-day work in the Senate is actually handled by the Senate Majority Leader, and to a lesser extent, the Senate Pro Tempore. The term of office for a senator is 6 years, and you need to be at least 30 years old in order to be elected to the Senate. Ultimately, the Senate's main job and the House's main job is to come together to make laws. In order for a bill to become a law, it needs to be approved by the House and the Senate, right? So if the House and the Senate have a bill that they've both agreed to and it's the exact same, it goes to the president for a signature. But if there's differences between them, if there's a difference between the bill passed by the House and the Senate, they need to form what's called a conference committee, And in this committee, they'll work out the details, come to an agreement on one bill to agree to, and send to the president's desk, If the president signs it, yay, we have a law. If the president doesn't sign it, that's called a veto, If the president were to veto a law, thing we learned in class is that the Congress basically has 3 options. They could do nothing, the bill dies, and that's the end. They could attempt to fix the bill. Maybe the president signed it because they had some disagreement. And Congress can work together to iron out those differences. That's not usually the case, but it tends to be that that's a possibility. They could work on it and then give it back to the president. The third option is that they could try to overturn the president's veto. We talked about how this is quite hard, mainly because in order to overturn a president's veto, you need to have a 2/3 supermajority. Most bills don't get passed with that much support, especially in a divided government where you have different parties controlling the different branches, or rather the different chambers, Indeed, as a matter of fact, more often than not, over 80% of the time in the last 50 years, it's been the case that the president's veto power has spelt the end of a bill, end of a law. Most of the time, bills don't get overturned, But the main job of the Congress is lawmaking. There's other powers that they have as well. The Congress declares war, for instance. They have the responsibility to raise and support the military. They are the one to establish whatever the taxes are going to be. They make rules for interstate commerce. They create a post office. They create lower federal courts. If we added a new state to the country, one of the things Congress would have to do is to basically pass a law to create a new set of federal courts there. Now, we learned that the president actually chooses the judges, but the Senate, and this is one of those things, the Senate has to approve a person the president nominates for a judge, a federal judge, or the president wants to nominate someone to be in the cabinet, to be a head of an executive agency or an executive department. The Senate has to approve that person. Okay. Similarly, the Senate has the authority to approve or not approve a treaty that the president puts forward. They have the ability to put forward and approve tariffs, which is taxes on foreign goods. We've learned recently that the House of Representatives and the Senate each have a split power to impeach elected officials, such as the president, with the House doing the impeaching and the Senate choosing whether or not to convict the person and remove them from office. Finally, we'll say that the Congress has the ability to suggest amendments. If Congress would like to have an amendment added to the Constitution, they can vote, and if 2/3 of both houses agree, they then push it to the states. And if you remember, if 2/3 of both houses agree to the amendment and it goes to the states, and 3/4 of the states agree to the amendment, we've now added an amendment to the Constitution. Okay? Now, this is the basic idea of the Congress, the powers, how they make laws, and the basic structures of each part of Congress. Later videos will talk about the powers of the president, the executive branch, and the court system.